Let me ask you a question. Does your husband love you or does he respect you? Because love without respect feels good in the moment, but crumbles over time. It's what makes love last. And today, I'm going to show you 5 clear signs that your husband doesn't just say he loves you, but he actually lives it. Imagine this. You're sitting on the couch, maybe after a long day, and you start sharing something that's been weighing on you. It could be about work, about the kids, or just that nagging feeling you can't quite shake. Now, most of us guys were wired to fix. We hear a problem and instantly our brain starts scanning for solutions. Did you try this? What if you just do that? Here's how you solve it. And while that might sound helpful, here's the truth. It's not listening. It's troubleshooting. And troubleshooting is not the same as love. When a husband truly loves and respects you, he doesn't jump straight to solutions. He leans in, he slows down, and he gives you something most people in this world aren't willing to give. His attention. That's the real sign. Listening without fixing is a form of respect. It says, I value your thoughts enough to just hear them without rushing you to the end. Think about how rare that is today. Everyone's rushing. Everyone's distracted. Everyone's halfway on their phone, even when you're in the middle of a conversation. But when he truly respects you, he'll put the phone down. He'll look you in the eye. He's not there to win the argument, not there to prove a point, not there to move the conversation along faster. He's there to understand you. And that's where the love shows up. Here's the thing. When a husband listens without trying to fix, what he's really saying is, I trust you to handle your own life. I just want to be here for you while you do it. That's powerful. Because love that doesn't come with respect will always sound like, let me take over. You can't handle this, but I can. But love with respect says, I believe in you and I want to stand with you. And now, does that mean he never helps? No, of course not. But the difference is he waits. He waits for you to invite him in. He waits for you to say, what do you think I should do? And when you do, he's there. But until then, he's just holding space for you to talk it out. That's respect in action. Let me give you an example. Picture a wife saying, work was exhausting today. My boss piled on another project and I feel like I'm drowning. A husband who doesn't understand respect will cut in with, well, just tell your boss you're overloaded, be more assertive, problem solved. He thinks he's helping, but he just dismissed her feelings. Now she's not only stressed from work, she feels unheard at home. But the husband who truly loves and respects will lean back and say, that sounds overwhelming. I'm sorry you're carrying that. Do you want to talk more about it? See the difference. One shuts her down. The other opens her up. And here's what usually happens when she feels heard. She naturally finds her own solution. All she needed was a safe place to let the weight out. That's love. It takes maturity for a man to do this because it's easier to try and fix. It strokes the ego. It makes him feel useful. But real love isn't about making yourself feel useful. It's about making her feel valued. And sometimes valuing her means saying less, listening more, and letting silence do the heavy lifting. If you've ever had someone really listen to you, you know how powerful it is. You walk away lighter, even if nothing changed about the situation. That's what respect does. It changes how you carry in the weight because you're not carrying it alone anymore. That's what a husband who loves deeply gives. He doesn't just take the load. He makes the load feel bearable because you know he's there with you. So when you're looking for signs that your husband truly loves and respects you, don't just listen for the I love yous. Watch what he does when you speak. Does he rush to the finish line or does he let you walk him through the maze of your thoughts? Does he try to silence your struggle with a quick answer or does he honor your struggle by staying present in it with you? That's the test. That's the difference. Because a man who listens without fixing is a man who's saying, without words, your voice matters to me more than my solution. And that is love built on respect. When most people think about love, they think about protection in the big moments, the dramatic ones, the kind of stories you see in movies. A husband stepping in front of danger, defending his wife if someone disrespects her in public, making sure the doors are locked at night. And yes, those things matter. But real love, the kind that's rooted in respect, goes deeper than that. It's not just about protecting you physically. It's about protecting your peace. Here's the difference. Safety is about the outside world. Peace is about the inside world. And the truth is, most of the time, it's not the outside world that drains us the most. It's the little day-to-day stresses, the invisible weight you carry in your mind, the pressure that builds up when no one else is paying attention. That's where respect comes in. A husband who truly loves you pays attention to those things. He's not just watching out for what might harm you physically. He's tuned in to what might disturb your heart. Think about how powerful that is. Anybody can step up in the big, obvious moments, but it takes a man who's intentional, a man who respects you, to notice the small things. Maybe he sees you rushing around trying to get everything done in one day, and instead of piling more on your plate, he says, "Hey, sit down. I've got this." Maybe he notices you're quieter than usual, and instead of brushing it off, he checks in with you, not to pry, but to let you know you're not invisible. That's not about control. That's about care. When a husband protects your peace, he's saying, "I see how hard you're working, and I want to make sure you don't burn out. I see what weighs on you, and I don't want to add to it. I want to be a place where you can breathe." That's what love with respect looks like. It doesn't just guard your body. It guards your spirit. Now let's be clear. Protecting your peace doesn't mean he shields you from every challenge in life. That's impossible. It means he refuses to become one of those challenges unnecessarily. It means he's mindful of how his words land, how his actions affect you, how the energy he brings into the home either calms the storm or creates a bigger one. That's where the respect shows up, in the way he chooses to show up for you. Picture this. You've had one of those days where nothing goes right. Work was chaotic. Traffic was a nightmare. And by the time you walk through the door, you're exhausted. A husband who's not tuned in might meet that energy with his own stress. He complains, he unloads, maybe he even snaps. And suddenly, your home, the one place that should be a safe space, feels just as heavy as the world outside. But a husband who truly loves and respects you notices your energy the moment you step inside. He adjusts. He lowers his tone. He makes space for you to decompress before asking for anything. He doesn't demand, he gives. He becomes a calm in the middle of your storm. And that's when you feel it. Your peace is protected. Respectful love also shows up in how he handles conflict. Arguments are normal. Disagreements are part of any relationship. But when respect is present, he doesn't aim to win at the cost of your peace. He doesn't weaponize his words or use silence as punishment. Instead, he argues in a way that still leaves your dignity intact. He cares more about the health of the relationship than about being right in the moment. That's protecting peace even when it's hard. And sometimes protecting your peace is as simple as consistency, knowing that when he says he'll take care of something, you don't have to double check. Knowing that when you're vulnerable with him, he won't throw it back at you later. Knowing that when life gets messy, you don't have to wonder whether he's going to add to the mess or help clean it up. That kind of steady presence, that's peace. See, love without respect will say, "I'll protect you when the big moments come." But love with respect says, "I'll protect the little moments that make up your everyday life. I'll guard your peace, not just your body." And that kind of love, the everyday, consistent, mindful kind, is what actually lasts. Because at the end of the day, the real test isn't whether he can step up in one dramatic moment. It's whether he can show up every day in small ways that remind you your peace matters to him as much as his own. That is what it means when a husband truly loves and respects you. One of the clearest signs that a man truly loves and respects his wife is how he handles being wrong. And let's be honest, we're all wrong sometimes. We all make mistakes. The difference is what happens next. Does he hide it? Does he shift the blame? Does he make excuses, or does he own it? Because love without respect will always dodge accountability, but love with respect steps into it. Think about what happens when someone won't admit they're wrong. It's not just frustrating. It's exhausting. You end up feeling like you're carrying the weight of two people's mistakes, yours and theirs. And over time, that doesn't just create tension, it erodes trust. Because if he can't admit when he's wrong, how can you trust him to be honest when it really counts? Now, let's flip that. Imagine a husband who makes a mistake. We'll say he forgot something important. Maybe he promised to handle a bill, or he said he'd pick up the kids, and it slipped through the cracks. A man without respect will scramble for a cover story. "You didn't remind me. I thought you said you'd do it." I was too busy. That's not just avoiding the mistake. That's pushing it onto you. And when he does that, what he's really saying is, my ego matters more than your peace. But when a husband truly loves and respects his wife, he handles it differently. He says, I forgot. That's on me. I'm sorry. No excuses, no shifting, just ownership. And that one simple choice to admit fault communicates something powerful. It tells you that your trust is more valuable to him than his pride. It shows you he's more concerned about being a good partner than looking perfect. Respect lives in those small, honest moments, because let's be real, mistakes are going to happen. Forgetfulness, misunderstandings, even poor decisions. We're human. But when a man respects you, he doesn't compound the mistake by lying about it or twisting it. He takes responsibility, he makes it right, and he learns from it. That's what keeps the relationship healthy. And here's something important. Owning mistakes doesn't make him weak. It makes him stronger, because it takes courage to say, I was wrong. It takes humility to say, I'm sorry. It takes maturity to say, I'll do better. Those qualities don't shrink love. They strengthen it. And when you see that in your husband, you don't just feel loved, you feel safe. Safe to be honest. Safe to make mistakes. Yakes yourself. Because respect creates a culture where neither one of you has to be perfect, but both of you are committed to being honest. Let's look at it another way. Imagine a team. If one teammate drops the ball but pretends he didn't, the whole team suffers. But if he raises his hand and says, that was on me, the team can adjust, recover, and move forward together. Marriage works the same way. It's not about never dropping the ball. It's about how quickly you admit it and how willing you are to pick it back up. Now, sometimes admitting a mistake feels risky. Maybe he's worried you'll be upset or that it'll start an argument. But here's the truth. The temporary discomfort of owning up is nothing compared to the long-term damage of denial. You can work through an honest mistake. What's harder to work through is dishonesty, defensiveness, or manipulation. Those eat away at respect. And that's really the heart of it. Respect isn't proven when everything goes right. Respect is proven in how someone handles it when things go wrong. When a husband takes accountability without trying to spin it, what he's really saying is, I value this relationship more than I value protecting my ego. That's love in its purest form. So if you're looking for the signs, watch how he responds when he's wrong. Does he admit it? Does he apologize? Does he try to make it right? Because those aren't just good manners. They're markers of respect. And without respect, love eventually feels shallow. The husband who owns his mistakes is the husband who proves with his actions that you can trust him, not because he's perfect, but because he's honest. And that is what love with respect looks like. One of the biggest signs that a husband truly loves and respects his wife is how he responds to her growth. Not the comfortable kind of growth that doesn't disrupt anything, but the kind that challenges routines, stretches boundaries, and sometimes requires sacrifice. Because here's the truth. When a man respects you, he doesn't just tolerate your dreams, he supports them. He doesn't just clap from the sidelines when it's convenient. He invests himself in helping you get there, even when it costs him something. Love without respect says, I love you as long as you stay where I'm comfortable. But love with respect says, I love you enough to watch you become more, even if it changes the rhythm we're used to. That's a different level. That's the kind of love that makes space for you to expand without making you feel guilty for it. Think about how easy it is to accidentally shut someone down. A wife shares a dream. Maybe she wants to go back to school, start a business, write a book, or even just take a class for herself. And instead of support, she hears something like, well, that sounds expensive. Or do you really have time for that? Or why would you want to do that now? Those comments, even if they're not meant to be harsh, carry a message. Stay where you are. Don't grow beyond this box I'm used to seeing you in. And over time, that kind of response makes a person shrink. But when a husband truly loves and respects you, his reaction is different. Even if he doesn't fully understand the dream, even if it makes him a little uncomfortable, he leans toward encouragement. He asks questions. He looks for ways to support. He says, how can I help? Because he sees that your growth doesn't threaten the relationship, it strengthens it. That's the thing. A secure man understands that your growth isn't competition. He doesn't lose anything when you win. In fact, when you step into more of who you're called to be, the relationship gains more depth, more strength, more life. A husband who respects you knows that, and he celebrates it instead of fearing it. Let me give you an example. Imagine a wife who wants to go after a new career. It means late night studying, maybe a tighter budget for a while, maybe less time for the usual routines. A husband who doesn't respect her might get resentful. He might complain, guilt her, or act like her growth is an inconvenience. But a husband who truly loves and respects her will roll up his sleeves and help shoulder the adjustments. Maybe he takes on more around the house. Maybe he becomes her biggest encourager when she doubts herself. Maybe he just reminds her, you're capable of this and I'm proud of you. That kind of support is priceless. Respect also shows up in the little ways he notices and acknowledges your progress. It's not just about the big milestones like graduations, promotions, or finished projects. It's about the smaller steps too, the effort, the courage, the persistence. When he sees you pushing through fear or stepping out of your comfort zone, and he says, I see how hard you're working and I admire that. He's not just being nice. He's affirming that your growth matters to him. That builds trust. That builds connection. And here's the truth. Growth will sometimes change the dynamic of the relationship. It might shift how time is spent, how responsibilities are shared, even how you see yourself. But a man who respects you embraces that change instead of resisting it. He understands that the best version of the relationship comes when both people are becoming the best version of themselves. That's what makes it love with respect, because it's not rooted in control. It's rooted in freedom. It's not about keeping you small so he feels big. It's about giving you space to rise, knowing that when you rise, the whole relationship rises with you. So when you're wondering whether your husband truly loves and respects you, ask yourself this: does he support your growth? Does he cheer you on, not just when it's easy, but when it requires sacrifice? Does he believe in your dreams even when you doubt yourself? Because a man who does that isn't just loving you, he's honoring you. And that is what it looks like when a husband truly loves and respects his wife. One of the most overlooked but powerful signs of love and respect in a marriage is consistency. It's not the big surprises, the expensive gifts, or the dramatic gestures that prove love lasts. It's the steady, everyday actions. Because intensity is easy. Anybody can turn it on for a moment, especially when the spotlight is on. But consistency, that's where respect lives. That's where love shows itself for real. Think about it. Anyone can be passionate for a weekend getaway, or pour on the affection on Valentine's Day, or write a heartfelt note when things are going well. And don't get me wrong, those moments are meaningful. They matter. But they don't mean much if the day is empty. If the everyday conversations lack care. If the rhythm of life feels more like your roommates than partners. The truth is, respect doesn't have to shout to prove itself. It shows up quietly. It shows up in the way he checks in with you, not because it's a special occasion, but because he genuinely cares about how you're doing. It shows up when he follows through on the things he says he'll do, even the little ones, because he knows reliability builds trust. It shows up when he chooses to be patient, when he chooses to speak kindly, when he chooses to show up again and again, even after a long day. Consistency is about proving love through repetition. Not repetition that feels stale, but repetition that feels steady. It's the difference between hearing "I love you" once and feeling it every day through his actions. It's the difference between a one-time effort and a habit of showing up. And here's the key: habits are what make love feel safe. Imagine if every day felt like a coin toss. One day he's affectionate, the next he's distant. One day he's present, the next he's checked out. That unpredictability creates anxiety because you're always wondering which version of him you're going to get. But when he's consistent, you don't have to wonder. And that knowing, that reliability is what gives you peace. Think of it like building a house. Intensity might give you a flashy renovation, but consistency is what lays the foundation brick by brick. It's what makes the walls strong enough to hold. Without it, everything else crumbles. Because if you can't depend on someone in the everyday, the big gestures start to feel hollow. Consistency also means that love isn't reserved for the easy moments. It shows up when things are hard, when you're stressed, when life feels messy. That's when you see if respect is real, because respect doesn't clock out when the mood changes. Respect doesn't say, "I'll be kind when I feel like it." Respect says, I'll choose to show up for you whether it's convenient or not. Let me give you an example. Say you've had a long day and you're short-tempered, maybe even unfair in how you speak. A husband who isn't consistent might snap back or withdraw or use that moment to justify neglecting you later. But a husband who truly loves and respects you stays steady. He doesn't match your storm with a storm. He grounds himself and chooses to respond in a way that protects the relationship, not escalates the moment. That's consistency. That's love proving itself in the hardest places. Another side of consistency is reliability in action. If he says he'll take care of something, does he follow through? If he promises to be somewhere, is he there? Those things might sound small, but they're not. Because every time he follows through, he communicates, you can count on me. And when a wife knows she can count on her husband, the relationship doesn't just feel loving, it feels safe. And here's what makes it beautiful. Consistency doesn't have to be dramatic to be meaningful. It's often found in the smallest details. A text in the middle of the day just to check in. A hug when he walks through the door. Doing the dishes without being asked. Choosing to listen instead of scrolling through a phone. Those little acts, repeated again and again, are the real markers of respect. Because at the end of the day, love isn't proven by how high you can spike your effort in one moment. Love is proven by how steady you can keep it over time. Anybody can create intensity for a season, but it takes real respect, real commitment, and real love to stay consistent for a lifetime. And that is what it looks like when a husband truly loves and respects his wife. So here's what it all comes down to. Love and respect aren't just words. They're actions you can see, feel, and trust. It's in the way he listens without rushing to fix, the way he protects your peace, the way he owns his mistakes instead of hiding from them, the way he cheers for your growth, and the way he shows up with consistency day after day. Those signs aren't loud, but they're steady. They're not about perfection. They're about intention. And when a husband lives out love with respect, it doesn't just make you feel cared for in the moment. It builds a relationship that lasts. Because at the end of the day, true love isn't proven in what he says once in a while. It's proven in what he chooses to do over and over again when nobody else is watching.